What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Conversation, a Crosspoint City young adult podcast created to help young adults have conversations about Jesus and what it looks like to follow him. My name is Carlos Fernandez, the young adult minister here at Crosspoint City Church, and I'm here with my good friend, Trent. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Carlos?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm super excited about this episode. So this is actually very new to us. It's usually me, Ansley, and Darian just chopping it up about our young adult messages that we preach at our young adult gatherings. But we had an idea a while back about having special guests on the podcast to just bless our community. And when I sat down across the table from you at Texas Roadhouse, man, I was like, I got to get you in front of our people because they got to hear your story. I feel like you can teach us a lot. You can just bless our community. And I'm just excited to have you on the podcast. And guess what? You are the first special guest on The Conversation.
Shut up, man. Are you being serious?
I'm being serious, dog.
Man, I am completely blown away, man. It's just humbled beyond belief.
Yeah.
But I do want to tell you, man, I'm super proud of you. Everything that you do, man, it is incredible how God's blessed you and how you're blessing other people. Yeah. But I've been watching your podcast, so you are like the podcast king. Right, so you got like how many you got? You got 3, 4 of them going on right now.
I mean, we got the young adult one. I got the Leave Hungry, and then I host for the Pursuit. So I'm not a podcast king, but I'll take it. Okay, I appreciate it, man. Just blessed to do it. I feel like God has really blessed our church in a specific way, and for us to use our gifts to really equip the next generation. I do believe that our job is to help disciple, to come alongside people. And so, man, I'm just blessed that we get to do this. And I can't believe that God can use guys like me and you to teach.
I know. Sinners like us, man. That's amazing how he can just use us, broken people.
Exactly, man. So it's just awesome that we get to partner with God. But let's get started, bro. So the reason I got you on the podcast is really I want you to share your story.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you just a few pointed questions about like, hey, what would you teach your younger self? Like if you could go back in time and talk to us about some things, what would those lessons be? But really, man, let's just get to know each other. Let everybody know who you are. Let's start off with your story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like any other story, man, you got to go back to childhood. And so for me, I mean, I was born and raised Cobb County. You know, I'm a Georgian. Yeah. So I've been here for most of my life. Did travel later on in life, but for the most part, right here. As a child, man, it's kind of like it's a lot different now than it was. But I was always outside, always playing, always going out and hunting, fishing, shooting, hiking, whatever that is.
Shooting as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Well, BB guns, right? Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I was very off the charts introverted.
Yeah.
As a child.
Really?
Oh, dude.
I mean,
that. You would not imagine, like, I've grown since then, but introverted like you wouldn't believe, to the point where they took me through, like, my parents took me through like speech therapy for like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, because I wouldn't talk. So, and this is like me being completely vulnerable right now because I've never like shared my story ever.
Yeah.
So this is an incredible opportunity for me, but also a life-changing moment for me to be able to present this and say that. But yeah, speech therapy for 2 years. It was one of those things that it was a hurdle to come over. Mm-hmm. I was probably about 12 or 13 when I started coming out of that. But it's kind of stayed with me. Yeah. Being an introvert, being okay with, not having all those relationships and friends and stuff. Man, I remember going out in the woods and just like being by myself all the time. And I was like, man, I'm happy, man. I'm just a kid loving being outside and everything else. So, so that was me in childhood and going into high school. On at Harrison High School. Yeah. So, graduating class of like 1,000, it was massive. Graduated in 01. 01, yeah. That kind of shows my age right now, right?
You're still young, bro.
Yeah. But not only you're your first guest podcaster, but I'm also the oldest probably you've had on here so far, right?
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
Yeah. So definitely was a long time ago, but 01, Harrison High School, graduated there, and then decided to go to Atlanta Christian College. That's also showing my age because it's now called Point University.
It is called Point University.
So I think Lane went there, right?
Yeah, and I did.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think Lane did too. So if you
So
don't know
what
who
year
Lane
did
is-
you graduate?
I graduated in 2016 with my bachelor's from there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was definitely Point
Okay.
University by that time.
Yeah, I think they changed it in like 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a good school.
It was a great school, yeah, and they've grown tremendously.
Oh, for sure. They got different campuses and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew the president really well. I was actually, I don't think we talked about this at Texas Roadhouse, but I was the president of the university for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, he has a freshman, sophomore. Funny coming from an introvert, right? So
I think you did tell me a little bit about that you got to go back and do that.
super involved, super involved.
That's crazy. I'm talking to a president, yo.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't do it now. That's for sure. I mean, I was definitely young and dumb, I guess, but just love Jesus, man. Just absolutely love Jesus, and just want to be involved in the school and the church and the chapel. So yeah, I try to get involved as much as I can. So with that, after leaving ACC Point University, joined the Marine Corps. So,
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, man. I thank you for your service too, man. So I was in the reserves, which gave me an opportunity to finish my education. So when I finished my education, ended up just really not knowing what to do. Really, I mean, I graduated with a dual degree in psychology and human relations and biblical studies with a minor in Greek and Hebrew.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I was probably like 23, 24 at this time, because some of that time was spent in the Marine Corps going through basic training, and so it took me a little bit longer to graduate. But that time that I spent going through all that, like, and I get a piece of paper. You get a piece of paper when you graduate, right? You spend like $100,000 for this piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do now?
Don't remind me about that. That's the
It's like,
most expensive.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. I could have printed off myself, and said,
You could?
Yeah, congratulations to yourself. I mean, that's all you have to say, right? So, but no, like doing that, like, was hard. It was really hard because I'm out of the Marine Corps now at this time, and I'm also graduated, from ACC. So, it's like, what am I going to do with my life? And so, really, I just went to some, deadbeat jobs. I was just trying to figure life out, in my mid-20s, and really just had a hard time, like, picking up on, what does God want for me, and what does He want from me, more importantly, and what can I do to serve Him better? And it wasn't until really when I met my wife, and when I met her, I mean, we're just dating at this point. I mean, she changed my life. I mean, she's absolutely been the best blessing. No, we've been like any other marriage, man. We've had our ups and downs, troubles, trials, tribulations, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But dude, she is absolutely, and we'll get later in the story, man. I'll tell you, like it's never like been as good as it is now with her. So, and there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like we got married and things were just great, right? Because they weren't. I mean, I had to learn how to live with another human being that was not designed to be like me.
Yeah.
So, as you know, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It is definitely a lot. But, right after I got married, it was like 3 months after I got married, I ended up deciding to go back in the military. Right.
So you were out of the Marine Corps?
I was out of the Marine Corps, long gone. Really, I talked to one of my best friends, and I'll tell him, the story to this day. It's like, it was a difficult time and place for me, and I was like, man, I miss the camaraderie of the military. Yeah, it's a brotherhood, and it's definitely something that you lean on somebody else, and you try to just your battle buddy, right?
Yeah.
So,
Fire
and
team.
it's hard to explain to anybody that's never been in. I mean, I guess if you've been on any kind of athletic team, but it's completely different. You're trained completely different in the military, and you're secluded from being a civilian for like 3 months at the very beginning. And that's what they're trying to do, is bring that mentality and that camaraderie together. So doing that. So I decided, you know what, I want to go off to the Army, from the Marine Corps, which is a sin,
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, we all bleed the same, We love the Army guys,
Yeah, we do.
It is a transition going from the Marine Corps to the Army.
It's better for me to say Army than Coast Guard. If I would have said Coast Guard, that'd been way worse.
Yeah, I hear the Coast Guard's training is really hard. Though.
Yeah. No, man. Yeah.
They say it's the second hardest.
Is it really?
Yeah, behind the Marine Corps. At least that's what I hear. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't discredit any of those guys, man. If you're willing to serve, especially this day and age, like my hat goes off to you. Like that's
for sure.
It's a crazy world right now, and for you to be able to just give up and go serve your country,
it was big time.
Yeah, it is.
Shout out to everybody that's in the
absolutely
who served in any way.
For sure,
awesome.
for sure. But yeah, so I decided to be a chaplain. So I ended up 3 months after I got married, right? And so now they shipped me off to Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so I'm away from my wife. I barely know her at this point. 3 months, right? So go through OCS and Chibotlic, which is the Chaplain Officers Leadership course.
Yeah.
And so I was able to see her once, that one time in 3 months as an officer. So it was, hard on our marriage.
Oh, I bet.
All right. So you fast forward to about another year, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're now just still in that honeymoon phase, trying to get to know each other. And she comes to me one day and she's like, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you." I was like, "All right, cool. What is it? What do you want to talk about?" And she was like, "So we have an opportunity to move to China." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? No way." She was, yeah. I was like, "China? No, I just got done with going through military training again, and my life is on a different path." And she goes, "No, you need to hear this guy out. You need to go with me to go to dinner." I was like, "Look, if there's free dinner, I'll go." Right? That's like, but otherwise, it's like a moot point. It's like it's not going to happen. And she's like, "No, go." I was like, "All right, I'm going to honor my wife, right, and get some free food." And so,
free food.
that's what's important, man. The way to a man's life is through his stomach, right? Yeah. So, so ended up going on that dinner, and he made both of us an offer that we just could not refuse.
Yeah. Can we know what the offer was?
So the offer, you want to talk about that? You want to talk about money already?
I'm just saying, you said an offer. You
So
what we talking about?
Yeah, so I was a first lieutenant when I got out of being a chaplain, and I was probably making like $60,000, and she was making probably about $45,000, and so
like $100K together.
Yeah, and so my offer was $125,000, and her offer was like pushing like $150,000.
Wow.
Right? Not only that, it's like when we moved over to Shanghai, like they didn't tell us this at the time, but it's like they paid for all of our the apartment, so we didn't have any rent.
Oh wow.
Right? And then some of our food was included. So transportation, just different
Man, sign me up. Let's go. Where these people at?
Yeah, so we really didn't have hardly any expenses.
Wow.
Right. So now, if you think about it, we're like 27, 28 years old right now, right?
Making
Still
$250 together.
Yeah.
250, 275.
Yeah. So it was an amazing opportunity. But what I'll say about that is, man, I was willing to come out of my comfort zone, right? And my wife felt something that I didn't. But I feel like I honored her in that moment. And don't get me wrong, it's about the money, right? Just don't lie about it. Like at that age, like money matters. But I thought it mattered more than it really did. And I'll explain more about that later. But being in that moment, I thought that's what God was calling us to go to a different place. And maybe we didn't know how it was going to turn out, or we didn't know what the end result would be. But here's the amazing thing, though, dude. The amazing thing is how God worked in that moment. Because we were over there, and I had no business being a history teacher and a dean of students, right? No business. I have no certificates or license or anything in teaching. I could speak English, and that's all they wanted. And they were willing to pay me that much. I was like, All right, let's do it. And so, yeah, over there for a year, the first year, and I got to know the principal, the Chinese communist principal, very well. And he trusted me. He began to trust me more and more. And so one day he just called me over, at the end of the school year. And he goes, Trent, I have an opportunity for you. Here's another opportunity, right? And he goes, we have 3 students that we need help placing in America. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? He said, well, they need to go to a school and we need to find a host family for them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I could do that. My father-in-law has been ahead of school for 30 years at that time, and my wife has been going to private school. So I was like, all right, so I'll look into it.
Yeah.
So ended up placing those 3 students that second year as I continued working. And he came back to me. He's like, man, Trent, that went so well. I was like, all right, cool. He's like, I want you to start your own business, and I will give you more and more students every year. I was like, okay. And listen, I'm like 28, 29 by this time. I'm taking their one and only child from China, and I'm placing them into a completely different country with a strange family in a strange environment and into a Christian school, right? So he's coming back to me. Here's the point. He's coming back to me, and he says, I want you, basically, to place this communist student into a Christian family and into a Christian institution to learn more about Jesus. And that's how I took it, right? And I'm like, hold on, do you know what you're asking me? Because that's what I think God's calling me to do at this point.
Yeah.
Because that right there just solidified, that's why I'm in China. It's not because I'm making all that money or because of what God was pleased, but it was because he wanted me in that specific moment, in that specific time, to be able to take these children and place them into Christian homes, into Christian schools.
So they can learn more about it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
They've probably never heard about Jesus up until they've come overseas into America and they start going to these different places.
Yeah.
So ended up, man, now we're up to 15 students the next year, right? So I'm hustling. I'm trying to get these kids in all these schools, and my wife's with me the whole time. So, I don't want to push her out of the way. She's been my support, and she helped me along the way, and it was a team effort. And, so and then it just continued to grow and grow and grow. So that was one school in Shanghai, China that we started with, right? I'm not even 30 years old now. And I have, probably, a couple $1 million in the bank.
Wow.
And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing and why God is blessing me with all this, all this money.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I want to continue this.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to pocket this money and think this is over. So I kept on reinvesting into what I would consider a ministry.
Yeah.
So I ended up opening an office. And my next office was in Jiaxing, China.
Yeah.
And then we went to Beijing, China.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, China's not big enough. Let's move it. So we opened an office in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City.
Wow.
Right? And so I had an office there. And then I had an office in Seoul, Korea.
Yeah.
Right? And then we finally opened an office in Marietta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Right? So I have all these offices across the world. And now I have about 100 employees across the world. And tell me that God's not touching those lives too, because they know where these kids are going.
Yeah.
They know they're going to go to a Christian host family and into a Christian school.
Wow.
So, that just kept on going on. And we grew it into almost a $25 million business in less than five years.
That's crazy.
Right. So, man, God's just been good. And I'll go back to my original statement. It was in that moment where I didn't feel like I served a purpose at 25, 26 years old, right? I didn't know what my purpose was, but God did.
Yeah.
God knew what he wanted for me.
Yeah,
I didn't. I could have never dreamt of moving to China and then taking students away or children away from their parents and placing them into a completely different country. Never in a million years would have guessed that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a job. Sounds bad, but you were doing something that parents wanted. You were placing kids in schools, so they're pretty much just foreign exchange students, and you were just facilitating that process.
That's right. So we were an agency. We were an international student agency, and we were on F1 visas. Mm-hmm. So there's an F1 visa, which they can come for all 4 years of high school.
Oh, wow.
And then they can also go into a university on that F1 visa. But there's also a J1 visa, which is public schools, right? But you can only come for 1 year on a J1, right? And so we were strictly F1. So my offices overseas and employees would not only try to recruit these students that want to come over to America, but they would also help with their visa process to be able to get their visas.
Yeah.
So it was, it just became a very large operation.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. So let's just try to recap a little bit. So you went to ACC, you graduated, joined the Marines, then got married, then went into the Army, became a chaplain.
Yeah.
After being a chaplain, you got an opportunity to go to China to be a history teacher pretty much. And then this guy comes up to you, asks you, hey, will you help me place these students in a Christian home and Christian school in America? And this is a communist president of the school, right?
That's right, yeah.
And then through that, the guy says, start your own business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start an office in Shanghai, China.
Yep.
And then you get offices all around China, and then an office in Vietnam, and then pretty much you station up here in Georgia.
That's right.
That is crazy.
That's right.
And so you grew this business to $25 million.
That's right.
And that's where we're up. And so what happened next?
So, we kept on moving forward, but I was, I think God blessed me in that way. I'm not good at a lot of things, but there's one thing I'm really good at is money.
Yeah.
Really good with money. And I didn't know that. I had no clue. I was never an entrepreneur before this, right?
Yeah.
So God took somebody that was completely broken, completely my undergrad was in psychology and biblical studies. Like no way. Why would you, give me the opportunity to do what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. You'd think it would be like a business major or somebody that, finance or somebody else. But no, he took somebody that has no idea what he's doing. And he's like, I don't care. You are the man for this job. I'm choosing you, and you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I took it that way. So asking that question, so I was able to reinvest that money into many different businesses.
Yeah.
And so, man, I've now part owner. It's crazy in a dojo, a martial arts facility, real estate. I mean, we have a very large real estate company, and so we ended up going and buying homes and flipping them, as they say, or rehabbing them, and then we'll end up, taking those and turning them into rentals or Airbnbs or VRBOs, and so we do that. I've probably owned and operated, I can't even count them now, maybe 6, 7, 8, different businesses I've been involved in. We were just talking about a business out in Montana. How crazy is that, right? So. So I'm just involved in many, many different things. Mm-hmm. But here's the other point that I want to get to is that money is not everything.
Oh, I believe that.
So as I started all these businesses, I started to realize I'm taking away what I should be holding on to. So basically what I'm saying is I was spending more time now, focusing more energy and time with these businesses than I was with Jesus, with God, with my family, friends. And so I felt that. Yeah, I felt that. Oh, man, dude, you have no idea. I'm telling you, COVID for a lot of people was bad, really bad. And for me, it shut down my international business. And for me, it was the greatest thing that could happen because I realized that I'm now no longer a slave to business and to those ventures that I was trying to create, right? Because I gave them up. And the best thing that I did was sell my 10,000 square foot, $2 million house. And we moved into a 350 square foot RV with a big truck, and we just pulled that thing in we went through 30 different states last year, and I spent more time with Jesus and more time with my family than I have ever. So, I mean, it's just a great experience to surrender, right? And to give that stuff up and be able to just really hone in on what God has and wants for us.
No, dude, I think that's just so good, because a lot of people, the reason I wanted you on the podcast, man, when I heard your story, a lot of people want what you had.
Yeah.
And they run after it and they chase it, and man, they put pretty much all their eggs in that basket. And to hear somebody to say, I had it all and I sold it so I can spend time with Jesus and his people.
Oh, absolutely,
you know?
man.
That is just, to me, incredible. I think a lot of people need to understand that, man, if you chase the world, it will not fill you.
That's right.
But if you chase Jesus, it's going to give you everything you've ever wanted.
Man.
So seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be given to you. I mean, I just think that is just an amazing lesson, man. So I just want to tell you, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they would just not open up and tell us what's really going on. You know, they'll act like everything's good, and when it's not. And something that you said in your story was, like, you really had it all, and you were, what happened is that you were spending more time with the gifts God had given you than God himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I see that all the time, especially in this generation, man. We are blessed with so many things, and we spend more times with those things than we do with God, and it's just like a pattern that's not going to be healthy for us, you know? And so I just think, man, that's just so good. So I do have a couple questions, and I know we're rolling up on some time, but I want to ask you, what was the biggest lesson that you learned? And I know you hit on surrender, but if you could talk back before you even started any of this, right? Before you even started college, if you could tell your younger self something that you learned throughout all these years, what would it be? Like, what would be that lesson that you would hone in on?
I could only give you one.
I mean, you can give me two.
Dude,
whatever you want.
I got like immediately like 20 of them that just popped up. I was like, there's so much that I would go back and teach or tell myself. Like, the brain's not fully developed until about mid-20s.
Yeah.
Late 20s.
For guys, yeah.
For guys, yeah. Actually, I think it might be in the 40s. We're not sure for guys. Yeah, so.
Don't put that on me.
No, but, for me, stop worrying about everything. Stop thinking that you're in control, because you're not. I mean, you can do your best to set goals and to be able to, prioritize your life, but stop making that a thing that's you can change, because you can't, because ultimately God is going to put you in that situation. It's your responsibility to say yes or no to that, right? And so I was worried about everything. I was worried about, what is my purpose? What is my plan, right? And so my finances, I was worried about that. Like, those things, at that age, stop worrying about it, right? Follow Jesus, read scripture, pray every day, go to church, right? He will reveal himself eventually to you. Might not be in your time, but he will. Yeah. And really just honor him, and it's okay to be, not to be okay, right? So, be vulnerable, open yourself up, and really just, follow him in everything that you can do. I think that's the most important lesson at that age that I learned, right? We talked about surrender, right? If I can go back, I'll teach myself, learn how to really surrender. Well, Trent, I do. I said, oh, you do? Yeah, I pray every day. That's great. I go to church every day. Okay. I do the things that God wants me to do. That's great. Okay. What about your finances? Are you tithing? Well, no, I don't have the money to do it. Yes, you do. I guarantee you I can look and create a budget for you, and I can find $5, $10, $15+ and you're spending,
sure.
But why won't you do it? Right? Why don't you give that up? Well, I've got to eat. Well, sure you do, right? But there's a way that you still tithe. It's about commitment at that point, right? Mm-hmm. Committing your finances is also surrender.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a pastor once teaching, he said, if you can, every time you give money, every time you're generous, what you're actually saying is you're telling the devil that he doesn't have a hold on you in this particular
That's right.
category. You know?
It's good.
And so, yeah, I do believe like we try to follow Jesus in so many areas, but that.
Yeah.
We're saying like, no, you can have everything else, but you can't have my wallet.
That's
you
right.
know? And so that's really good. And you're coming from a point where you had a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, so when you get a lot more, it is harder to give away. And so I love that because a lot of people are coming from the point where they don't have a lot, but you had a lot.
That's
and
right.
You say, man, give it away, you know? And I always tell people to work on those things early because if you can give when you have a little, then you will give when you have a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, man. It is all about like giving, right? It's kingdom wealth, as we call it, right? So it's be able to grow your lifestyle, to be able to be a blessing to others. And that's what it's all about. It's being able to bless those who have blessed you, but also help organizations, 501c3 nonprofit organizations grow and help them reach other people, right? And I learned, very early in my life that it's not about taking, right? You can take all you want, right? You're not being a blessing to somebody else by taking.
Yeah.
You're a blessing to somebody else by giving.
Yeah.
Right? People that are suffering right now, the people that don't have money, or they're working 3 jobs to pay the bills. We're living in a very difficult society, economy right now. So I get it, man. It is hard. It is hard for those, single moms, single dads that are raising, kids, and groceries are expensive, and life is just throwing you curveball after curveball.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a blessing to those people, right? Whether it's through giving to them or giving to an organization that does something for them, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I can be, right? We're about to leave in a couple of days for 4 months, right? And I'm able to travel the country in an RV with my family, right? I'm blessed beyond belief to be able to do that. But I also think I'm blessed in that capacity because I'm trying to be a blessing to other people. It's not my money. That's how I treat it. It is absolutely not my money. It is God's money, right? And it's how I use that money to be a blessing and fulfillment to their lives.
Yeah, we're good stewards, man. We're supposed to be stewards.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be good ones.
Absolutely.
But I love that, dude. I think I think that's a good place to pin it, man. The lesson that you've taught me, man, you got to surrender everything. Right. And the earlier you do it, man, the better you'll be.
That's right.
And so if you're young and you're trying to figure out the plan and the purpose that God has for your life, man, just surrender that. Just surrender, and He'll give it to you. And then also with your finances, make sure that you surrender everything in your life, including your finances, man. I love that. Trent, thank you so much for being on the podcast, bro. It was awesome. We'll have to have you out again. With that being said, hey, we hope you guys enjoyed that. We love you. We're here for you, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.